On June 10th, 2025, after 31 years on death row, Anthony Floyd Wainwright was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. Join us as we explore the last meal he chose, his final words before his life ended, the tragedy behind the loss of Carmen Gayhart, and why a brutal kidnapping and murder haunted America for 3 decades. What drove Wainwright and his accomplice down a path of savage crime, and was justice truly served after a protracted legal journey? On the morning of April 27, 1994, Carmen Gayhart, a 23-year-old nursing student and mother of 2 young children, began her day as usual in Lake City, Florida. She was attending Lake City Community College with dreams of a better future for her family. This resilient young woman was last seen in a parking lot near the school earlier that day. When Gayhart didn't arrive to pick up her children from daycare as expected, her absence immediately raised concern. After an initial unsuccessful search by her husband, father, and classmates, she was officially reported missing. Unbeknownst to her family and investigators at the time, Carmen Gayhart had been abducted at gunpoint by 2 escaped prisoners, Anthony Wainwright and Richard Hamilton, while loading groceries into her Ford Bronco in the parking lot of a Winn-Dixie supermarket. A normal moment turned into a nightmare, and Carmen Gayhart's life was tragically taken by unimaginable brutality. Just 2 days before kidnapping Gayhart, both Hamilton and Wainwright had escaped from the Carteret Correctional Center, a minimum security prison in Newport, North Carolina. Wainwright was serving a 10-year sentence for burglary, while Hamilton was serving 25 years for armed robbery. The pair also stole a vehicle and burglarized a home, taking 2 rifles before fleeing to Florida, where they ultimately kidnapped and murdered Gayhart. After abducting Carmen Gayhart, Anthony Wainwright and Richard Hamilton abandoned their original getaway vehicle at a lumber yard on US 41 and fled the scene in Gayhart's Ford Bronco with her held hostage. They drove her to a remote wooded area behind the Fuel City truck stop off State Route 6 in neighboring Hamilton County, Florida. There, in an isolated location far from public view, the 2 men subjected Gayhart to a brutal sexual assault. According to Hamilton, after the assault, Wainwright strangled her in a clear attempt to kill her. To ensure her death, he then shot her twice in the head with a .22 caliber bolt-action rifle, fatally wounding the 23-year-old nursing student and mother of 2. Her body was left at the scene, and the perpetrators continued their attempt to evade law enforcement. During the trial, both men confessed that the other was responsible for strangling and shooting Gayhart. The shocking cold-bloodedness of their actions appalled the public. What drove these 2 men to such cruelty, willing to take the innocent life of a young mother? Immediately after Gayhart's murder on April 28, 1994, Wainwright and Hamilton were located near Brookhaven, Mississippi. When confronted by a Mississippi state trooper, the 2 fugitives engaged in a gunfight with the officer. Hamilton was shot in the face and Wainwright sustained a gunshot wound, but both were non-fatal. During their arrest, authorities recovered Gayhart's Ford Bronco, which the suspects had been driving since fleeing the crime scene in Florida. Although the vehicle was found, there was still no sign of Gayhart at that time. After his arrest, Hamilton waived extradition and was quickly returned to Columbia County, Florida. There, investigators with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office conducted an in-depth interrogation regarding Carmen Gayhart's disappearance. During the interview, Hamilton provided a detailed confession and cooperated with authorities by drawing a map of the remote site where Gayhart had been taken, raped, strangled, and finally shot. Although he drew the map, he couldn't identify the city or county where the area was located. Hamilton also claimed that while both he and Anthony Wainwright participated in the sexual assault, it was Wainwright who carried out the murder by shooting Gayhart. On May 2, 1994, Tina Wheeler, a dispatcher with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, recognized the map Hamilton drew as an area near State Route 6. Deputy Sheriff Mel Black and Albert Jones drove to the area at approximately 4:30 a.m. and locate Gayhart's body. During the search, Jones noticed a foul odor in the area and alerted investigators. At sunrise, around 7:00 a.m., Gayhart's decomposed remains were discovered. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office took over the murder investigation and sent the remains to the District 4 Medical Examiner's Office in Jacksonville. After Gayhart's body was transported to the Medical Examiner's Office, investigators conducted a follow-up search of the crime scene. At the recommendation of Dr. Margarita Aruza, the medical examiner, who noted that Gayhart's remains were missing several teeth and the hyoid bone, investigators returned to the site. During the search, they successfully recovered some of her missing teeth and the hyoid bone. Did the perpetrators think they could evade justice forever? After their arrests, both Hamilton and Wainwright were formally charged with multiple felonies, including first-degree murder, sexual battery, robbery, and kidnapping. In July 1994, a grand jury indicted the pair on all counts. The state attorney for the Third Judicial Circuit, Jerry Blair, announced their intention to seek the death penalty against both men, citing the heinous and premeditated nature of the crimes, as well as the aggravating factors of kidnapping, sexual assault, and the victim's vulnerability. The case proceeded to trial amid significant public attention and outrage over the brutality of the offenses. Gayhart's surviving family members expressed their desire for both Wainwright and Hamilton to be executed for the rape and murder of Gayhart. Due to the significant media attention given to the case and the court's inability to seat an unbiased jury in Hamilton County, the trial was moved to Clay County, where a jury was quickly seated. During their pre-trial detention at the Clay County Jail, both Hamilton and Wainwright repeatedly expressed intentions to escape custody. Authorities received intelligence indicating that the two men were actively planning an escape attempt, which allegedly included a plot to kill a correctional officer during their breakout. Due to the seriousness of these threats and the high risk they posed, jail officials placed both men in maximum SETI confinement to prevent any potential escape or violence against staff. Furthermore, for their court appearances, stun belts were installed on both Wainwright and Hamilton to keep them under control. The trials and sentencing of both Wainwright and Hamilton were held before separate juries in May 1995. And on May 3rd, 1995, both juries found the two men guilty of kidnapping, raping, and murdering Gayhart. On June 1, 1995, both juries recommended that both Wainwright and Hamilton should be sentenced to death for the most serious charge of first-degree murder. According to court sources, the jury in Wainwright's case handed down a unanimous vote for capital punishment, while the jury in Hamilton's case issued a majority vote of 10-2. On June 12, 1995, both Wainwright and Hamilton were formally sentenced to death via the electric chair by Circuit Judge Vernon Douglas. Besides the death sentences, the judge also imposed 3 consecutive life sentences to each of the two men for the other offenses committed against Gayhart. The judge labeled the murder of Gayhart as pitiless and unnecessarily torturous, and also wicked, evil, and vile. Did this sentence bring solace to those left behind? Hamilton remained on Florida's death row until his death from natural causes on January 13, 2023, at the age of 59. On May 10, 2025, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a death warrant for Anthony Wainwright, scheduling his execution date for June 10, 2025. Wainwright was scheduled to have an evidentiary hearing at the Hamilton County Courthouse in Jasper on May 19th. However, Judge Melissa Olin declined to proceed with the hearing on May 16, citing a lack of evidence. Following this ruling, Wainwright's attorneys filed an appeal with the Florida Supreme Court on May 20, with a motion for a stay of execution filed with the court on May 23. The court denied the request on June 6th. Wainwright appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to halt his impending execution, citing prenatal exposure to Agent Orange, but the appeal was rejected. On June 10, 2025, Wainwright was put to death by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. While his last meal wasn't officially recorded in medical records, some unofficial sources indicate Wainwright had sausages, boiled greens, beef, and a glass of passion fruit juice. The official time of death was 6:22 p.m. EDT. He made no final statement. His execution took place less than an hour earlier than Gregory Hunt, an Alabama death row inmate executed by nitrogen hypoxia, who was pronounced dead at 6:26 p.m. CDT. Did Wainwright's death bring comfort to the victim's family? The Carmen Gayhart case leaves lingering questions. What drove Anthony Wainwright and Richard Hamilton to become such brutal murderers? The pain of the Gayhart family is a vivid testament to the devastating consequences of violence, especially when it comes from escaped offenders. Is the justice system truly robust enough to prevent similar tragedies? In May 2014, some 20 years after the rape and murder of Gayhart, her sister expressed in an interview that she and her mother were still waiting for justice to be served and hoped to see both Hamilton and Wainwright executed for murdering her sister, whom she described as the sweetest girl on the face of the earth. Gayhart's father had since died in 2013, and Gayhart's sister even petitioned the governor to sign death warrants for both Hamilton and Wainwright to ensure their executions were conducted sooner. Gayhart's mother also passed away in 2022 from cancer. Mississippi State Trooper John Wayne Leggett, the police officer who first spotted the two killers and engaged in a gunfight with them, recounted the case in 2018. Leggett stated that despite not initially realizing that the duo were fugitives, he nonetheless followed them after seeing them in an out-of-state vehicle and suspecting them, and his actions thus contributed to the arrests of both Wainwright and Hamilton. Leggett stated that this was the most unforgettable experience he had throughout his 27 years of law enforcement career. It was further reported that for his role in apprehending the suspects, Leggett was honored as the statewide Trooper of the Year and received the Highway Patrol's Medal of Valor. He was also recognized by Congress and named a 1994 top cop by the National Association of Police Organizations. Leggett, does that mean honorable district? We just took the day off. This case reminds us of the cost of violence, the importance of vigilance, and the continuous role of the legal system in ensuring justice, even if it takes decades. What are your thoughts on the fate of Anthony Wainwright and Richard Hamilton and the lessons this tragic story leaves us with?